Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 4, which is the conclusion of my version of The Last Jedi. Now, if you have not watched part 1, part 2, or part 3, then I suggest you watch them first, as my version of The Last Jedi differs greatly than Rian Johnson's version of The Last Jedi. Now, without further ado, let us begin. Part 4. Aboard a Hutt-remodeled Star Destroyer, Hux approaches Poe with a datapad. I have done a count of the fleet Arak gave us. It's not enough to take on the Yuuzhan Vong. We have to delay our attack, Hux says. I'm not leaving New Alderaan to die, Poe says. You have to. This is not a situation we can win, Hux says. I know lives are not as meaningful to you in the First Order, but don't you dare speak of me about the meaning of life. My grandfather was stationed at the first Death Star along with 1 million of other people when your famous Luke Skywalker blew it up. My father was stationed on the second Death Star. I have hated you rebels and your republic all my life, but I have put aside my emotions for the sake of my men. All I'm asking is for you to do the same, Hux says. We might have only one shot at this. We have to make it count. Otherwise, thousands more will die and New Alderaan will fall anyway. Poe ponders it reluctantly. Lieutenant Connix runs over to Poe. Poe, you have to see this. At the med bay, Leia slowly opens her eyes to see Poe before her with Hux beside him. At my age, getting impaled is no longer as fun as it used to be, Leia says weakly. Poe merely smiles. I'm just glad you're still with us. You have an old friend who wants to talk to you. He puts Chewbacca on the vid screen. Chewie, Leia says. Chewie roars. It's not that bad. Barely feel it, Leia says. All right, a familiar voice says from the other side. He turns the camera and we see it's Lando Calrissian. Well, hello, beautiful, Lando says. I heard you needed a fleet. Poe presses a button and the wall becomes transparent to reveal the Millennium Falcon leading a massive fleet unlike anybody has seen. Luke did it, Leia says. Chewie roars. Of course Han would be a part of this. He always had his moments. Not many of them, but he did have them, Leia says with a chuckle. Chewie chuckles as well. We have some stragglers who survived the multiple attacks of the Yuuzhan Vong. They will meet up with our forces at the designated coordinates, Hux says. And our forces are ready as well, Poe says. So, milady, what is your order? Lando says. Poe, Leia asks. Me, Poe says. I'm in no shape to lead, Leia says. She looks at Hux and Poe. The question is, can you two work together for the sake of the galaxy? Poe and Hux stare at each other. Hux nods. So does Poe, as he says, yes, we can. Poe and Hux exit the med bay and begin walking down the corridor. This is it. We're not going to have a better opportunity, Poe says. Agreed. We have a chance, Hux says. Good, Poe says. As they reach a fork, Hux notices Poe heading the wrong way. The bridge is this way, Hux says. One of us should be on the front lines, leading the charge. This way, we can better coordinate our actions. You leading the capital ships, while I lead the fighter squadrons, Poe says. Besides, I owe them a rematch. You trust me to lead the capital ships? Hux says. Yeah, I guess I have to. Just don't be a prick and betray us at the 11th hour, okay? Trust me, if I betray you, you'll be the first to know, Hux says. Funny, Poe says dryly. Captain, although we have enough men, without a plan, all they will be is cannon fodder, Hux says. I have a plan. It's risky, but it just might work, Poe says. I'm listening, Hux says. In the hangar bay, all is frantic as Black Sun troopers and Mandalorians start running to Black Sun fighters. Poe, wearing his pilot jumpsuit, also rushes in, seeing Rose doing a last-minute maintenance check on 2 X-Wing fighters parked in the hangar bay. These just got transferred over, Rose says. Great. Why they bring 2 though? Poe asks. I asked them to, Rose says. Afraid I'll break one? Poe says. That one is mine, Rose says. Poe stops smiling. Wait a minute. You're not serious. You watch my back, I watch yours, remember? Rose says. You have no fight experience, Poe says. I've been watching my sister. I think I got the hang of it, Rose says. It's not the same and you know it, Poe tells her. It's my home. I can't sit by and just watch, Rose says. Poe sees the sincerity in her eyes and caves. Okay, but you stay close and follow my lead. Rose nods. Yes, sir. In space, above New Alderaan, the Sun Crusher approaches with the Supremacy and the massive Yuuzhan Vong fleet. The Ebon Hawk lights speed into view. Finn, Kylo Ren, his Knights of Ren, Luke and Rey stand in the cockpit. That's the Sun Crusher that Poe told us about, Rey says. That's okay. We've dealt with this before. We just take down their shields and then have Poe and his team do their thing. It won't be like last time. Last time, they wanted Starkiller Base to be destroyed. This one, they'll want to keep, Luke says. And why would they have wanted Starkiller Base to be destroyed? Kylo Ren asks. They no longer needed it. They already used it to weaken the Republic, and destroying it with a third of your forces would make it easier once they started the invasion, Luke says. I guess killing you would have been a bonus, Finn tells Kylo Ren. I won't die that easily, Kylo Ren says. Rey looks at him suspiciously. Neither will he, Luke says. According to the books, the Yuuzhan Vong does not have a clear line of succession in leadership. Their race believes only the strong will survive, which led to much infighting when a leader dies. Much like the Sith used to be before the Rule of Two, Kylo Ren says. So if we kill Snoke, his forces will be in disarray. That would be our only shot to destroy the Sun Crusher and defeat the Yuuzhan Vong fleet, Luke says. He turns to Rey as if to remind her. We must kill Snoke at all costs. Everything depends on it. Rey shoots a disapproving look. We better get ready then, she tells them. Finn heads to the back. Kylo Ren puts his helmet on. He nods for Sailor to patch them through. This is Kylo Ren. I have Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren says. Good, Snoke voices purr on the other end. Bring him to me. The Ebon Hawk lands on the Supremacy before an army of Yuuzhan Vong, no longer wearing crimson red gear, but showing their true face with armor seen in the legend books. Kylo Ren and his Knights of Ren escort Luke and Rey in handcuffs out of the Ebon Hawk, Kylo Ren holding onto Luke and Rey's lightsabers. The Yuuzhan Vong chant, making a path for Kylo Ren and his prisoners to follow. Although the Yuuzhan Vong look daunting as they stand alongside the long corridor as a show of force, Rey's eyes stay with Kylo Ren. Finally, she decides to break the silence. Why do you hate my father so much? He wasn't even there that night when Snoke got to you. No, your father was off on a fool's errand because Snoke tricked him. That is why he is made to suffer. Because he left me to be turned, Kylo Ren says. Didn't he try afterwards? To keep you from turning? Rey asks. It was too late by then. I was too far gone, Kylo Ren says. They approach the throne room. After you, Kylo Ren tells Rey and Luke. They enter the throne room surrounded by his Praetorian guards. Snoke smiles upon seeing them. Here you are at last, the famous Luke Skywalker. And this must be your daughter, Rey. You don't know how long I've been waiting for this moment, Snoke says. Meanwhile, in space, the Yuuzhan Vong fleet heads toward the New Alderaan sun. Suddenly, the Galactic Alliance hyperspace right on them. Several ships plowing right into some of the Yuuzhan Vong fleet, both exploding on impact. The remaining scurrying about trying to dodge each other. Amidst the chaos, Rose looks worried as she barely dodges some debris. This was a bad idea, Rose says. I should have stayed on the ship. You're doing fine. Just stay close to me, Poe says, barreling through a Yuuzhan Vong cruiser, chopping up the bridge with a laser fire. In the Millennium Falcon, Chewie roars. You're telling me, Lando says. Even Han wasn't this crazy. Where does Leia pick these people? Poe contacts Hux. How many did we lose? I would say 15% of our forces, Hux says. But the plan worked. They did not expect us to exit hyperspace this close. They are completely in disarray. All ships, concentrate your fire on the Sun Crusher. Poe, we will need your fighters to lay down cover fire. You cannot allow our ships to be destroyed before we take out the Sun Crusher. If we concentrate all fighters on the Supremacy, it should draw enough of their forces off of you, Poe says. Gold Leader, care to get their attention? Well, I didn't come for the drinks, Lando says, looking at Chewbacca. Let's show these newbies what we old-timers can do. Chewie growls before the Millennium Falcon does a barrel roll straight through an onslaught of fighters, blowing them away as it makes its way for the Supremacy. The throne room shakes as another blast hits the Supremacy. Snoke merely smiles. You people truly are bold, but it does not matter. You've already lost. It is not over yet, Luke says. Do you think this feeble trick will work? I know Kylo Ren is with you, but before this is over, you will be betrayed and he will stand by my side once again, Snoke says. I have foreseen it. Rey stares at Kylo Ren, searching for a hint of betrayal. Snoke notices. Do you know how my young ward became so powerful? I taught him an ancient dark side trick to drain a person's force upon death, and he has drained many Jedi. He plans to do the same to you, Luke Skywalker, in the hopes it will make him powerful enough to kill me. Of course, he will fail, Snoke says. Rey's now glaring at Kylo Ren. Even Luke looks at Kylo Ren with surprise. Ben? Luke asks. I do what I must, Kylo Ren says. He whips out his lightsaber and strikes at Luke, slicing the handcuffs off before handing Luke his green lightsaber, which Luke ignites immediately. The Praetorian guards rush toward Luke and Kylo Ren. The Knights of Ren ignite their lightsabers as Kylo Ren slices Rey's handcuffs off and hands her her double-bladed lightsaber. And as their lightsabers clash against the Yuuzhan Vong's energy blades, we cut inside the Ebon Hulk as the hidden compartment opens up and Finn, R2-D2, and BB-8 pop their heads out. I must be insane going along with this, Finn says, climbing out. R2-D2 beeps. Trust the plan. No offense, but the Jedi got wiped out. Twice. They're the last people I should be getting survivor tips from, Finn says. BB-8 chimes in. Don't you start, Finn says. Let's just get this over with. Finn pokes his head out the Ebon Hulk to see the Yuuzhan Vong scrambling to get on fighter ships and not even looking his way. Finn, R2-D2, and BB-8 sneak off in the other direction into a hallway where a Yuuzhan Vong in Praetorian Guard armor is guarding the exit. Finn whips out his blaster and fires, but the Yuuzhan Vong Praetorian Guard merely seems to dodge it by hopping off one end of the wall to another, making it hard for Finn to get a beat on him. The Yuuzhan Vong throws the spear at Finn, but surprisingly, Finn is able to catch it with an unnatural speed of his own. The Yuuzhan Vong unsheathes an energy spear and swipes at Finn, but Finn is able to deflect those attacks and ram that spear onto the Praetorian Guard's chest, killing him. Finn looks over his shoulder at the exoskeleton spine. Thank you, Maz. He turns to R2-D2 and BB-8. Okay, find us a terminal and the fastest route to the reactor. We go back to space as Poe's forces fight fiercely against the overwhelming Yuuzhan Vong fleet. This is not working, Lando says. We cannot get through that hole. The Supremacy just sent out another wave, Rose says. Chewie roars. Well, I'm glad that's giving Luke a chance, but what about us? We're dying out here, Lando says. How are they regrouping so fast? Does it matter? Rose says, seeing one of their cruiser ships explode. We cannot keep going like this. We cannot back away either. I spotted 3 of those interdictor types out there that match what Leia showed us. We won't be able to hyperspace out, Poe says. They were expecting us, Rose says. We already knew we were walking into their trap going in, Poe says. Hux, how much time do you need to break through those shields? There's no way to be sure. None of our weapons are getting through so far, Hux says. I'm open to suggestions, Poe says. Perhaps the Supremacy can disable the ship remotely, but we would need a strike team to infiltrate it without being blown up in this chaos, Hux says. We already have a strike team inside, Poe says. BB-8, do you copy? As Finn finishes putting on the slain Praetorian Guard's armor, BB-8 chirps at him. Poe needs us to see if we can lower the shields to the Sun Crusher, Finn repeats. R2-D2 beeps as if to contest. I know Luke needs us to set the charges to blow up the reactor. But it makes no difference to destroy this ship if they can still use that Sun Crusher to destroy New Alderaan, Finn says. You two go ahead and see what you can do about that reactor. I'll catch up when I can. As Finn races off alone toward the bridge, we turn our attention to Snoke's throne room as Rey tries desperately to take on a Praetorian Guard, only to have Kylo Ren swoop in from behind and plunge his lightsaber into that guard before fending off 2 other Praetorian Guards before him. Kylo Ren takes those 2 out as well, but 2 more approaches from his backside. Rey jumps in to hold them off to protect Kylo Ren. Luke and the Knights of Ren also hold their own against the Praetorian Guards until all are finally defeated. Luke, Rey, Kylo Ren, and his Knights of Ren turn to Snoke, still sitting comfortably on his throne. "You Jedi are truly remarkable," Snoke says. "It's over," Luke says. "So it seems," Snoke says. "But here is when your plan falls apart." Rey's comm blinks. She answers it and hears R2-D2 frantic beeps. "What do you mean Finn left?" Rey asks. BB-8 chimes in. Okay. Just head over there. I'll think of something," Rey says to the comms. To Luke she says, "We have an issue. Finn had to go help Poe." "You need to go complete Finn's mission then," Luke says. Rey glances at Kylo Ren, then back at Luke and says, "I'm not leaving you. Everything depends on us destroying this ship. That's the only way their forces fall apart. You need to go," Luke says. "She won't make it alone," Kylo Ren says. "Send anyone you can spare," Luke says. "I need Ben," Rey says. "I'm needed here," Kylo Ren says. "Sayla can go with you. Ben, you're the only one I can trust," Rey says. "That's the only way I will leave. Your father cannot defeat Snoke alone," Kylo Ren says. "Just go," Luke says. "Setting the detonators are more important than this fight. Just come back when you can." Kylo Ren and Rey nod. "Finn also needs help on the bridge. There are bound to be more Yuuzhan Vong there," Rey says. "Sayla," Kylo Ren orders. "As you wish," Sayla says. Sayla, Kylo Ren, and Rey head off, leaving Luke with the remaining Knights of Ren to face Snoke. Snoke rises from the chair. "Come, Luke. Let's see what a Jedi Master is truly made of." Snoke manifests several wraith-like versions of himself, each igniting a silver lightsaber before launching in the air after Luke and the Knights of Ren. In space, the battle intensifies, and we see some death-defying moves from both Poe in the X-Wing and Lando in the Millennium Falcon as they each take on a swarm of enemy fighters. The Sun Crusher nearing the sun slowly opens up. "The Sun Crusher is in position and is charging up," Hux says. "If it destroys the sun, we will need to get out of here really quick or risk being caught in the implosion." "We must take down those interdictors," Lando says. "By all means, feel free to give us breathing room," Poe says. "You heard the man. Gold 2, Gold 3, you with me," Lando says as the Millennium Falcon barrel rolls toward the nearest interdictor, firing away. "Poe, there are over 5 billion people on that planet," Rose says nervously. "Now is not the time to lose focus. Trust in our friends. They will pull through," Poe says. On the bridge, several Yuuzhan Vong are manning the station as Finn enters, still in his Praetorian Guard outfit. He heads over as if to man the station before whipping out his blaster and open fire, tagging several Yuuzhan Vong members before one is able to chuckle energy lance at Finn's blaster, smashing it. As the remaining bridge officers begin to surround Finn, Sayla dashes in with her double-bladed lightsaber, cutting down several of the bridge officers and giving Finn the chance to snatch an energy blade from one of them to take out the rest. "Thanks," Finn says. "Don't mention it," Sayla says. "If Kylo Ren gave me a different order, they could easily be you." "Right," Finn says. He rushes toward a control panel in the hopes of finding the button to take down the Sun Crusher's shield. Sayla helps him search. "Come on, where is it?" Finn says as he sweeps from one control panel to the next in a frantic search. Finally, he makes an awful discovery. "The generator's control are not here." "Then there's nothing stopping the Sun Crusher from destroying that planet," Sayla says. At the engine room, Kylo Ren and Rey cut through all Praetorian guards securing the area and then signal for R2-D2 and BB-8 to come through. They see a series of small corridors, each housing small reactors and power modules. "We haven't much time," Kylo Ren says. R2-D2 and BB-8 proceed to plant bombs within the reactor along with Kylo Ren and Rey. Back in the throne room, the wraiths swoop down from above. One chops the Knight of Ren in half. "Use Force Lightning," Luke says. The Knights of Ren fire Force Lightning, and it seems to be affecting the wraiths as they shrink before it. But one slips through and stabs another knight. "Strike here," Luke says, pointing to the palm of his hand. The knights follow Luke's command and fire Force Lightning at Luke's hand, which he absorbs until he can't any longer, and then releases it as a powerful shockwave that knocks all the wraiths back. Seeing Luke distracted, Snoke attacks. Luke turns around to deflect Snoke's lightsaber attack. They enter a fierce battle that seems evenly matched. A wraith swoops in to attack Luke's blind side with a lightsaber, but Luke whips around and holds the wraith in place through the Force. The wraith struggles but cannot pull free. With a flick of a wrist, Luke rips the lightsaber out of the wraith's hand and cuts it down with his own blade, only for another wraith to come from another direction and knock Luke off his feet. All Knights of Ren eyes turn as Snoke places the lightsaber blade to Luke's neck. "Nice try, Jedi. But here is when you lose," Snoke says. Back in space, we see the Yuuzhan Vong destroying many Alliance ships, from fighters to capital ships. Poe leads a wave of fighters, including Rose, on a bombing run toward the interdictor, only to be intercepted by a wave of Yuuzhan Vong fighters, breaking their formation and destroying half of Poe's squadron. Rose looks on in fear, seeing a ship explodes right beside her. She looks forward again and notices Poe is nowhere in sight. "Poe, I lost you," Rose says. Before she can get her bearing, a Yuuzhan Vong fighter beelines straight for her. She barrel rolls out of the way, but the Yuuzhan Vong fighter comes about to her six, firing at her. Rose dodges and weaves desperately. "I have one on my six," Rose says. Aboard the Supremacy's bridge, Finn hears chatter on the comms of his fellow fighters being killed. Then he hears Rose's frantic voice, "I'm not going to make it," before she's cut off. He also hears in the chatter that nothing is working. Finn looks at the many panels. "Where are the thrusters and the flight controls?" "Here." "Why?" Sailor asks. "Blasters are not making a dent on the Sun Crusher." "Maybe ramming this bad boy will," Finn says. "What? Are you crazy? You'll kill us all," Sailor says. "There are billions of people on that planet. I can't let them die," Finn says. "What about your precious little girlfriend? She's on this ship too," Sailor points out. Finn thinks about it for a moment, then says, "I'll just have to hope she gets out in time." Finn turns to the controls. Anger rises in Sailor. She ignites her lightsaber. She swipes at Finn. Finn barely dodges it. "What are you doing?" "I'm not going to die for you," Sailor says. She force pushes Finn away from the console. Finn slowly gets up. "I guess we're enemies again," Finn says. He grabs a nearby energy blade from a dead Yuuzhan Vong and charges at Sailor. As Kylo Ren readies the last bomb within a small corridor, the door shuts behind him. Kylo Ren springs to his feet. He sees Rey through the small circular glass of the door. "What are you doing?" Kylo Ren asks. "I cannot let you kill him," Rey says. Kylo Ren removes his mask so she can see the face of her cousin Ben. "You are letting Snoke get in your head," Kylo Ren says. "You forget. I saw what's in your head already. I know you. I know what you're capable of. You will kill Luke because you think draining his force is the only way to kill Snoke, and I cannot allow it. He's my father," Rey says. She shows the detonator of the bomb. "You cannot win without me," Kylo Ren says. "Luke said so himself." "He's been wrong before," Rey says. "I wish there was another way." Tears are in her eyes as she walks away. "You betrayed me? Like your mother? You Skywalkers are all alike," Kylo Ren cries, banging on the door. "I'm so sorry," Rey says. She presses the button, and the corridor explodes with Kylo Ren inside. Finn's and Sailor blades clash in an epic battle. It is a hard-fought battle as Sailor disarms Finn, only to have Finn scramble for a spear from another dead Yuuzhan Vong and chuck it at her, which she easily deflects. Sailor force pushes him to the wall. Finn gets back up and grabs another spear from another dead Yuuzhan Vong. "Why won't you just die?" Sailor cries. She force pushes him again, but Finn refuses to stop as they clash blade again and again, until finally Finn gets the upper hand and plunges the spear into Sailor's chest, killing her. "That was for Maz," Finn says. Finn rushes back to the flight controls and steers the Supremacy toward the Sun Crusher. Back in space, Rose's fighter is about to be destroyed as the Yuuzhan Vong fighter tailing her zeroes in. Then out of nowhere, Poe swoops by and destroys the fighter chasing Rose. "Thanks," Rose says, coming back into formation. "Anytime," Poe says. A shadow engulfs them, and they look up to see the Supremacy charging for the Sun Crusher. "Look, the Supremacy," Rose says. Finn full throttles it, closing his eyes as he waits for the inevitable. The bridge crashes into the Sun Crusher, and Finn is flung forward. Back in space, we see the Supremacy run through the Sun Crusher, splitting it into two. The Supremacy itself taking heavy damage as a good chunk of it breaks off. The remaining wreck of the Supremacy drifts aimlessly. They did it, Rose says. Yeah, they did, Poe says somberly, seeing the wreck. On board the Supremacy, Rey lies unconscious, surrounded by loose wiring and broken panels. BB-8 and R2-D2 roll over to her, beeping and chirping, nudging her to get up. She slowly stirs and scrapes herself off the floor. I'm okay, Rey tells them. She suddenly looks concerned. Finn, BB-8 whistles questionably. He's hurt, BB-8. I can feel it, Rey says. I have to get to him, R2-D2 chirps. You've downloaded the schematics? Great. Lead the way, Rey says. In the throne room, Luke lies motionless in the rubble. His eyes slowly open. Seeing his lightsaber a mere few feet away from him, Luke stretches his hand out and reaches for it with the Force. The lightsaber whips to him and... Ah! Luke screams as his arm is chopped off by another lightsaber. His scream echoes throughout the Supremacy corridors. Rey turns around. No, Rey whispers. In space, Poe cuts down another wave of Yuuzhan Vong fighters. They are completely in disarray, Poe says. Now is our chance. Take them down. Suddenly, chirps and whistle ring in the comlink. What? Poe says. Finn is hurt. Okay, I'm coming in. No, you can't, Rose says. You have to lead. I'll go. But, Poe begins. But Hux quickly cuts him off, saying, she's right. We finally are pushing them back. We cannot lose our best fighter at a time like this. Poe resigns, nodding. Okay, bring our people back. Will do, Rose says. She veers off for the wrecked Supremacy. Back in the throne room, a hurt Luke crawls away, only to have his leg chopped off as well. Luke screams some more. Ah! The Knights of Ren have fled. You are alone, Snoke says. You put your faith in the wrong people, and now you have lost it all. Snoke readies for the final blow, and is suddenly flung across the room. Luke turns and sees Rey, her hand outstretched, pure rage in her face. Get away from him, she tells Snoke. My protege returns, Snoke says, rising back to his feet. He projects more Force waves to go after her. Rey, no, Luke says. But Rey unleashes the full power of the Force and have much of the ceiling cave in on the race. A few metal shards cut through Snoke's backside as well, basically impaling him. The wraiths disappear. Snoke merely laughs it off, impressed. He rips the metal shards off his body, saying, Good. Let your anger flow. Give in to your hate. Snoke fires Force lightning at her. Rey catches it with her hands, sliding back a little at first at the sheer force. Then with a primal scream, she inches forward towards Snoke, taking it all in like an unstoppable force. Snoke leads cheerfully. Yes, yes, now that you know hate, learn the lesson of pain. Snoke lightning stream fires more forcefully, much more than Rey can take, and she goes flying back to the floor. Snoke fires back, electrocuting Rey. Rey screams in pain, unable to take it anymore. Luke sees an escape pod. He reaches out his hand and Force pushes Leia to the escape pod by the wall. He then uses the Force to close the hatch on the pod behind her. How dare you, Snoke says, firing Force lightning at Luke. Rey leaps to her feet, realizing she's been cut off from her father and Snoke. No, she says. Before she can do anything, her pod fires away into space. The last image she sees is Snoke raising his lightsaber, ready to slash Luke down. Luke merely stares at Snoke. Go ahead. Finish it. I'm content in knowing she's far from your grasp. Is she? Her last image is seeing me about to kill her father. I sense that will haunt her for quite some time. Don't worry, Snoke says, lowering his lightsaber. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to break you. On the bridge, Rose enters with BB-8 and R2-D2. They see Finn lying in pain, bleeding. His leg wrangled in the rubble. BB-8 races to Finn, chirping wildly. I'm okay, buddy, Finn says, but I don't think I'm going anywhere. Rose slowly approaches Finn. She examines his leg. Your leg is crushed. If I pull you out, you'll just bleed out. Yeah, I figured, Finn says. Look, I'm sorry about your sis. Thank you, Rose says, interrupting him, tears glistening in her eyes. You saved my homeworld. I can never repay you. Finn nods. You better get out of here. No. If we can find something to cauterize your wound, maybe we can still save you, Rose says. There's no time, Finn says. Shut up, she tells him. R2-D2 beeps and whistles as it extends a metallic arm and grabs Sailor's lightsaber hilt. Rose takes it. She ignites the lightsaber and looks over at Finn. Finn braces himself. Do it, he says. The key to hope is knowing how great it is. If one has it, one can have the strength to topple an empire. But if you give the people just enough hope and then snatch it away, you can crush even the greatest alliance, Snoke says. And with a push of a button, another Sun Crusher comes into view before the sun. Luke's face drains as the second Sun Crusher picks up where the first one left off. In space, Poe looks on horrified. No, Poe screams. We couldn't take on one of those things. How are we going to take on the second one, Lando says. We have to try, Poe says. But even as the Galactic Alliance rally their forces for another assault, it is no use as the Sun Crusher begins sucking up the sun, turning it black. And on the Supremacy hangar bay, Rose helps Finn, who is now missing one leg, into the Ebon Hawk. R2-D2 and BB-8 right behind them. They suddenly stop as the sun goes dark. No, Rose says, watching the sun slowly crumbling upon itself. We have to go, Finn says. In an escape pod, Rey cries, pounding on the window as the Sun Crusher finishes devouring the energy of the sun. And then she watches in horror as the Sun Crusher releases the energy onto the planet of New Alderaan, burning the surface of the planet, killing all residing, until all that remains is a charred husk. It's over, Hux says. Prepare for hyperspace. You heard the man, Poe says sadly. Form up on me, and let's get ready to jump. The Ebon Hawk revs its engine, but it has not moved from the hangar bay. Rose appears frozen, standing behind the controls, staring at her dead planet. Rose, Finn nudges. I heard him, Rose says. She takes the Ebon Hawk out of the hangar bay, preparing for jump into hyperspace. The Ebon Hawk jumps into hyperspace along with the remaining forces of the Galactic Alliance. In the escape pod, Rey sobs, falling to her knees in defeat, staring at the dead planet. A First Order shuttle approaches the pod, and with a tractor beam brings her in. Rey stumbles out of the pod, only to see the remaining Knights of Ren with their lightsabers ignited before her. You betrayed and defeated Kylo Ren. We felt it the moment it happened, one of the Knights says. Rey doesn't really have any fight in her. Nevertheless, she wearily ignites her lightsaber, preparing for one. But instead of charging her, the Knights of Ren kneel before her with their lightsabers raised in salute. Welcome home, Master, the Knight says. Rey nods somberly, her eyes filled with tears as she accepts her new fate. Get us out of here, she says. Her ship enters hyperspace. On the charred remains of the planet New Alderaan, a First Order shuttle lands. The ramp opens, and Snoke strolls out and enjoys the view. A crippled Luke Skywalker is tossed outside beside him by Praetorian guards. Your sister was right. This will make a perfect homeworld, Snoke says. Did you bring me here to gloat? Luke says. Of course, Snoke says. I thought that part was obvious. Seeing Luke unable to get up, Snoke says, Don't worry. We have the means to make you whole again. Our technology and organics is a bit more advanced than yours. We can recreate tissue and bone on a cellular level. You won't even have a need for your robotic hand by the time we are through. It will be like you never even lost a limb. You are too kind, Luke says. Not really. I only plan to regrow your limbs just so I can cut them back off again. And each time it will hurt like the first. Let's see how long you can last before you break, Snoke says. And once you're finally broken, I will parade you around for all to see. Another shuttle lands and Kylo Ren steps out, his armor seemingly fused with his skin. I am glad you are fully healed, Snoke says. Yes, my master, Kylo Ren says. Snoke turns to Luke. When we found him, he was barely clinging to life. We had to rebuild most of his internal organs, but his armor was fused to his body. Turning back to Kylo Ren, he says, Are you still experiencing any pain? Yes, Kylo Ren says. Good. That pain and anger will make you strong, just like it did Vader. And now, as promised, your training is complete, Snoke says. We have spotted Rey's ship. I wish permission to track her down and kill her, Kylo Ren says. Luke looks on, upset. Yes, you have my permission to kill her. But wouldn't you rather make her suffer the way you have suffered? Make her feel the same pain she wrought you? Have her flesh burn, her hopes dissipate, her suffering never ending. I can make that happen, if you wish, Snoke says. Kylo Ren thinks about it for a long moment before saying, yes, I would like that. Good, Snoke says, smiling. He sees Luke still looking on. It's like I told you, before the day is over, you will be betrayed, and Kylo Ren will be back by my side. You just never thought it would be your daughter who betrayed you. On the planet Kashyyyk, hundreds of wounded lie on a field being treated for various injuries, while others stand displaced, wondering what they are going to do now. Among them, Finn sits before the Ebon Hawk, watching a nurse fit him for a new metallic leg. He sees Rose, Poe, and BB-8 strolling over. Checking up on me, Finn says. Making sure you're okay, Poe says. I'm convinced that BB-8 won't be satisfied until I'm the first human droid walking around here, Finn jokes. No one really laughs. I'm sorry about your planet, Finn tells Rose. Yeah, well, they took everything else, Rose says. Leia's taking it the hardest. Lando and Chewie are with her right now. We brought all our forces together, and we still couldn't beat them, Poe says. Now reports are coming in that Kashyyyk might be next. The way it is going, we will be wiped out in months. Finn looks around. He sees the defeat in everyone's eyes. So what's the plan? We don't have one, Poe says. Hux thinks it's a lost cause, and I... It sounds like you're giving up, Finn says. We're not giving up, but I'm not sure how we can win, Poe says. Angrily, Finn stands up. Hey! Hey! He cries, getting everyone's attention. People turn to him. From the looks on your faces, you've all heard by now. They say we only have a few months before the Yuuzhan Vong wipes us out. You know what I say? Well, that's more than enough time to fight back. How? We cannot take them. What hope do we have? Says someone in the crowd. Plenty. Do you know why we have hope? Finn asks. No one answers. He looks at the Ebon Hawk. Because we have history. 5,000 years ago, that ship, the Ebon Hawk, led the charge to bring the Republic back from the brink against the Sith Empire. And later on, when the Republic finally fell to the Galactic Empire, brave men and women, much like yourselves, formed the Rebel Alliance and brought us back from the brink to form a new republic. And now that the new republic finally has fallen, this Galactic Alliance will be our calling card, and we will hold the line and fight for our freedom and our right to live, just as those who came before us. So what they pushed us back today? Well then, they better fear tomorrow, because tomorrow we push back. To the Alliance! To the Alliance, Poe shouts. To the Alliance, Rose says. People nod and also shout, To the Alliance! To the Alliance! To the Alliance! To the Alliance! And as they do, Finn looks at Poe, who nods approvingly, and then at Rose, who smiles. And as they turn toward the camera and the people who are cheering them on, we cut to credits. And as the credit finish rolling, we hear Rey's voice saying, My name is Rey Skywalker. I am responsible for killing billions. I don't know if I can make it right, but I have to try. And slowly, a Star Wars Episode 9 logo appears with the title, Rise of a New Order, coming soon. And we cut to black. Now, this concludes the story of The Last Jedi. I would like to thank everyone who has watched this from beginning to end. And if you just watched piecemeal, I'd like to thank you as well. Your support was very much appreciated. I had fun writing this project. I'm glad I was able to get this out to you guys in time. as tomorrow my wife will be giving birth to our second child. She will be a girl. And so I was happy to get this off to you, or maybe today, by the way. Depends on what time this YouTube video actually gets out. But I'm happy I was able to get this out to you guys in time. With that said, my name is Tymaine Clay, and I'm signing off so I can be a dad for a second time. Bye.